Hello and welcome to this new video. Today I'm going to take you on a little bike ride with me. But first I need to put on this. It's not your most stylish thing and it does nothing good for your hair, believe me. But I tend to prioritize my brain over my hair. And there are these built-in earmuffs which are really practical. In fact, sometimes I keep the helmet on once I've left my bike somewhere. I do get some looks, but who cares? My ears are kept warm. And today it's about maybe -2 degrees Celsius, so it's pretty cold, but it's also sunny. So let's go. In some ways, Denmark is more like Holland than the rest of Scandinavia. It's a lot smaller than Norway and Sweden, but a bit larger than Holland. Denmark is nearly as flat as Holland too, which probably explains why both countries are so fond of bicycles. In fact, despite the title of this video, my bicycle was actually made in Holland. My 2 bikes before that as well, the brand being Batavius. But I had to tweak the title a bit so as not to offend Queen, who of course inspired the title. As you can see from the ride I'm taking you on, it is quite flat around here. It's not just the flatness though, it's also the infrastructure of cities like Copenhagen and Odense, where I live, that makes it bicycle friendly. They're the 2 cities in Denmark that are doing the most to reduce our carbon footprint and create good conditions for cyclists, including miles and miles of bicycle paths. In Copenhagen there are more bikes than cars. About 90% of the Danish population own a bicycle and use it as a means of transport. 1 out of every 6 trips made in Denmark is made on a bike. Bicycles aren't nearly as popular in the rest of the world. In the UK, for instance, a bicycle is apparently mostly viewed as either a toy or as a means of transport for the poor or the strange. We don't see it like that, quite the contrary. To most Danes, it's viewed as part of a healthy lifestyle and has been since bicycles had their breakthrough back in the 1920s and 30s. You don't need a license for it. It's an inexpensive way of getting around. And yet the people who cycle the most here are those with higher than average incomes and those who are educated above average. Most children here are brought up riding a bicycle. My youngest daughter cycled to her kindergarten from age 3. She had little support wheels at first, and in the beginning she would ride on the sidewalk with her dad or me cycling slowly next to her on the bicycle path or on the side of the road. What I love about riding my bicycle is the sense of freedom I get. I'm not dependent on anyone. I don't have to worry about getting stuck in rush hour traffic or search frantically for an expensive parking spot. It's freedom on 2 wheels, unmotorized. Maybe that's why people here sometimes refer to it as our iron stallion or iron horse. It's a way of staying mobile, even if it's only in my own country these days. And mobility of body can lead to mobility of mind. You don't stand still, you don't stagnate. You keep moving, even if you're not going very far. Okay, so there are way more people out here than on what I usually experience. And I can't really blame them because it's Corona lockdown, so everybody's wanting to get out of their houses. And the weather is nice for once, so everybody is out here. I tried filming here yesterday. It was pretty much the same. Cars going by, people cycling, people running. It's freezing cold, I have to say. But that's because there aren't any clouds in the sky. This in itself is worth celebrating, I have to say, which is why all these people are here. I know, because I'm the same. But this is nice. I have a friend who lives on the other side of the water here. In the summer she goes kayaking. Not so much in the winter because water tends to seep into the kayak. And it's just too bloody cold these days. Where I'm cycling right now is a place called, the road leads to a place called Stiø, which is that place where everybody goes when it's nice out. And now the other side of me here, we've got a bunch of allotments. There aren't that many people there now, but in another month or 2, people will begin to put stuff in their gardens, as will I, hopefully. As much as I like walking, you get nothing for free when you walk. You have to take every step. A bicycle will do part of the work for you. Going downhill, for instance, you can just sit back. Of course, the opposite is the case when you have to go back up, but that gives you a mild kind of interval training. You can then congratulate yourself once you've reached the top. You can go further on a bike too, which makes your range of movement that bit larger, maybe psychologically speaking too. A few years ago I spent a week in London where I walked between 12,000 and 18,000 steps a day, which I loved, especially in London. But I experienced an acute sense of relief when, back in Denmark, I hopped on my bike again. I felt it immediately in my lower back. Riding a bike is especially good for people with lower back problems, I've been told by many physiotherapists over the years. If there aren't bicycle paths where you live, invest in a good helmet and wear bright clothes. Many Danes cycle on country roads that have no bicycle paths, especially right after the Tour de France. The cars have gotten used to the cyclists. One of the most inauspicious bike rides I've ever been on was one where I was a passenger. The chauffeur was a New York City taxi cyclist. Unlike all the yellow cabs who went past me once the drivers saw my rather large suitcase, this rickshaw guy was willing and able to get me to Penn Station on time for my train to Newark Airport. And New York City is not what I would call a bicycle-friendly city. It was daunting, but I survived. And he had survived, for years by then, which goes to show you can ride your bicycle almost anywhere. If you've stayed this far, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching.